think we're live. I don't see us yet.
Hey, we are here. I hear us.
Okay, great. Well, welcome, ladies.
Hey there.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
We made it another Thursday. We always think that's a blessing that we made it another Thursday.
Yes.
That's right.
Oh my God.
Thank you for that. And we're excited tonight. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Cara Dunstan, and this is our good. We made it another Thursday. We always think that's a blessing. And we need someone to mute. And we've got a fabulous topic tonight. It's all about finances. What do your finances look like during this pandemic is what we're calling it. And we want to know, what are your money moves? So looking forward to discussing that with our special guests. But first, before we do that, we're going to introduce ourselves. As I said, I'm Cara Dunstan, and we've got Regina Clay.
Oh, I'm muted.
There you are.
Hi, everyone. As you can see, I'm in my attire for the next few days.
Getting ready to vote.
Yes.
Look good. You look good with that Rise Up and Vote shirt on.
Yeah.
Don't sit down. Don't get complacent.
Nope. Gotta vote. And we've got Jeanette.
And I'm so glad that you're back with us. Thank you to our guests for coming to spend some time with us. Just a couple of things. I just want to give our disclaimer that I said the same thing I say every week. Please know that we do not profess to be experts. We are just good girlfriends coming together, sharing information as good girlfriends, as we do. And welcoming you into our sisterhood, into our virtual living room. And so welcome. One other quick thing I want to talk about, just to kind of piggyback off of our session from last week in terms of self-care. For the next 30 days, we'd like to invite you all to do something for yourself that would indicate self-care, whatever that is. I can't tell you, it kind of ties into tonight's topic. Self-care is managing your finances also. So whatever you decide, and at the end of the 30 days, we will have a session where we can talk as good girlfriends and share what we did to care for ourselves for the next 30 days. So welcome, and I can't wait to get into tonight's topic.
I like that. I'm excited. I have to figure out what I'm going to do for the next 30 days. Find something. Maybe it'll be about my finances. So as I mentioned, tonight's topic is all about finances, and we are blessed with two special guests. The first one is my dear sister friend from Celebration Church, Danica Tokunaga, and she's a certified financial planner, and she's going to tell us some money moves. And our second...
Thank you, ladies, for having me. Thank you for sharing the evening with me. I'm so excited to be with you.
We're excited.
We're excited also.
We got a lot to talk about. And our second special guest is Kimberly Ampry Flowers of the Flowers Home Team. She is our resident, well, she sells residences, but I call her our resident realtor because I call Kim almost every week with a question.
She's my realtor.
Yeah, every week I'm calling her about something. So she's on the spot for us all the time. So we appreciate that she's here with us tonight as well. Share a little bit about what's going on with mortgages and home sales and how we may be able to build wealth through real estate. We can talk about all that tonight. So let's get into it, ladies. What's going on with everybody and their finances during the pandemic?
I'll go ahead and jump right in because I'm talking about this all day long with folks. So as I think back pre-COVID, typically a financial advisor would tell a person that you need to have an emergency fund, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we all agree that yes, everybody, I don't care who you are, especially after 2020, I think people are going to think differently about their money and how they manage their money. Now, here's the irony, okay? Pre-COVID, that emergency fund, you probably would have been advised to have an emergency fund of at least 3 months, right? And at best, if you could, a 6-month emergency fund. And what that means is trying to have 6 months of expenses saved in your savings account so that that money is easily accessible to you, okay? Not having it invested, not like letting that be a part of your investable assets or your 401k or your IRA or some money that you probably shouldn't touch. But just having money sitting maybe somewhere in a money market fund or something liquid that you can access should you need to in the event of an emergency or some kind of unforeseen circumstance, okay? So typically, the textbook version of an emergency fund is going to state 3 to 6 months. After COVID, we'll probably see that changing in a lot of these books, because even if you were someone who thought you were covering all of your bases and you had a 6-month emergency fund, well, guess what? Clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. Your 6 months is just about up. You're probably feeling a whole lot of uncomfortable right now. It's just not an easy space to be in. So what I'm encouraging people to do is, where you can, right? Because right now, obviously, we're in the midst of it, right? We're in the midst of this pandemic. So now is not the time to be trying to scramble and say, okay, let me try and establish an emergency fund. Because if you haven't done it already, or if you have and your emergency fund is expiring, if it's running out, then you got to do something else. We got to go to plan B. And I'll get into that in a little bit, but I'm going to allow Ms. Flowers to speak. I don't want to steal the thunder just in the beginning of the show, but I'll get back into the emergency fund and plan B and what you got to do next.
So this is gonna be good because I don't have anything.
Look, I know this is gonna be
Plan B.
really good because my 6 months is exhausted.
Girl.
So I'm like ready for the plan B.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited about Plan B too. But
Before we
Denise-
get to plan B, real quick, I'm gonna need you also just to be thinking about how you can get me to saving some money, after this for an emergency fund. Because I didn't ever save the money originally for the emergency fund.
Absolutely.
We need to plan C and
I
D.
had these around that too. So just to make sure, even if I never had a plan A, I don't think. So I need you to start from the beginning
All
without
right,
plan.
let's do it.
Okay. So Kim,
yes, so first of all, ladies, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited because I'm a fan of the Good Girlfriends chat. I have followed all of your episodes except for last week I wasn't on. I missed it. But I am just so I think that this platform is needed, and it was, I think, a long time coming, because we all need the support, the expertise, the shoulder to lean on, all of that the Good Girlfriends provide. So thank you so much for providing this platform. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. But Danica, you set me up lovely, because a plan B, I would invite everyone to consider their plan B being exploring the possibility of real estate and owning real estate. Because actually, real estate is really one of the first good steps to obtaining wealth. Because it is, once you obtain it, it's an asset that you can do so much with. So usually, most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, once you purchase real estate, that property appreciates, meaning it increases in value. There are times in some situations where property depreciates, but for the most part, it will appreciate, it will increase in value. And because of that, and because you have this asset, it is also the first step to legacy building. You can will this asset, pass it on for generations, keep it in your family. You can borrow against this asset. You can take money out of this asset. Many of us who have children who are going to college, or we have homes that need improving, or we have aging parents that we need to help to take care of, if you have this asset, this property, you can take money, borrow from yourself, borrow against it, take out a home equity loan, and use this to help support your goals, your dreams, your vision, your needs. So I would invite all of you all who are watching the Good Girlfriends chat to consider identifying ways in which you can participate in the real estate market. And, you know, there are other than, in addition to purchasing on your own independently, I would invite you all to be creative and consider other ways in which you can maybe pool your resources to invest. You don't have to do it all on your own. You can, you know, identify partners that are trustworthy. That's key to invest in real estate, pool your resources, and then that becomes an asset that you can build upon, you can grow, you can sell. You all are partners. And it's just another way of obtaining wealth other than having to kind of strike out on your own if you don't have all the resources to do it affordably now.
Okay, so I feel a little better now because that has been my portfolio is real estate. So I feel a little better that I might have a plan A/B there.
I think you do.
Because I was feeling a little shaky when she started talking about the 6 months of expenses. I was like, whoa. But long-term plan will help with the short-term plan. So
Yes.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And have no fear, Cara, because most people have the majority of their net worth in their real estate, which is usually in their principal residence.
Yes.
So it's, you know, it's not until people get a certain age that they have acquired a level of investable assets, you know, because usually the first thing we do when we get out into our careers and we're making some kind of money is we go and buy a home. Right. And it's a beautiful thing because we need to be property owners. We need to invest in real estate because it is the easiest way. Because when you think about it, think about how you acquire your real estate, right? So you're literally, and I tell people this all the time, you're literally making money on somebody else's money. Because when you buy that home, that principal residence, you're using the bank's money, right? So you're actually, with real estate, you're able to invest without having the money that would be required for me.
Yeah.
So with, you know, real estate gives you that opportunity. It makes investing accessible to those who don't have or haven't accumulated in that hard dollar investable assets.
Yeah.
So you're not alone. A lot of people have their money tied up in real estate, but we want to diversify you a little bit. So I tell clients who come to me who only have publicly traded securities, right? They only have investment portfolios. I suggest that they do some type of diversification so that they're what we call spreading their eggs and not putting all their eggs in one basket.
That's good.
Yeah.
So how I have a question.
Sure.
I need a plan D. So what is a good way to get started with that? Like what's a very good way? I just need to, you know, sometimes you just need somebody to help you get started, right? What do you suggest?
With investments or, I mean, with like financial investments or with real estate? Which one are you?
So, I'm more interested in having that emergency fund. And what do you suggest for the liquid? Because I think that is extremely important. Things arise all the time. You may not be able to take the equity out of your home right away. And definitely can't, you know, tap into your 401k or 503Bs or whatever you have. So
yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, that I needed Danica to start at the beginning before A. How do you get to A?
Yeah. So you know what, when we want to start, when we're just trying to establish a baseline and we need a plan A, we want to pull it together. We've heard about having this emergency fund and making sure we have some money liquid in the event that this happens, or this happens, right? The way you do it is just by starting to save a little bit, right? When you get your paycheck, save whatever you can, put it to the side. Become comfortable and familiar with living on less. So, you know, when you think about the amount of money that you bring home, try to committing a certain percentage or dollar amount of that pay and putting it into a savings account.
And so would you recommend a basic savings account? Would you recommend a money market? Would you recommend under your mattress? What are you recommending at this point?
Under your mattress.
I'm just saying, I mean.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. I would recommend a money market. You know, nowadays you can find, and you got to be careful, but just look online and try and find out where you can get the best rates and the most favorable terms on having a money market account. Savings accounts don't generate, checking accounts don't generate interest.
Mhm.
Savings accounts do, but it's very little, right? So a money market will give you a tad bit more interest than a traditional savings account, but just start there. Just start by every time you bring some money into the household, just take a little bit of it off and put it in a dedicated account that you're not going to touch no matter what, right? And
Tanika, oh, go ahead.
yes.
No, go ahead. I'll
Okay.
let you finish.
I was just going to say, if there is a way that you can, with your employer, you know how we have our direct deposit going into our account? Some employers will allow you to have your direct deposits going to multiple accounts or multiple institutions, right? If you can set it up that way so that you don't even touch the money, you take that burden of responsibility from yourself of having to, you know, physically take the money and move it away. So what I mean by learning to live on less is if you can literally not even touch the money before it even comes to you, it's allocated to go somewhere else, then you're really committing to the process, right? And I think that's the best way to start.
We had a comment on Facebook that said, I think sometimes the interest is so low on savings accounts that it doesn't feel worth it. What's your response to that, Danica?
I agree. It's minuscule, right? It's almost non-existent, right? But you know, the bank is dropping a few pennies in the account, just enough to say that you're making interest on it, right? You're making something on it. And I agree. So what I say to that is, oftentimes I have people come to me and I'm surprised by how much money they have just sitting in the average savings and checking account. You'd be surprised how much money people have just sitting in a savings account at a bank. So what I will say to them is, okay, how much of this do you think you could potentially need in the next 6 to 9 months? Everything else, let's take it and invest it in something, right? Whether it's stocks, bonds, or whatever the case is, right? We only need to have enough money sitting in savings because of the fact that it's not growing. We only need to have enough money sitting there so that if there is an immediate need, you can fulfill it.
So
sorry. Go ahead, Regina. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, Danica, and because you're at Celebration Church as well, I grew up, you know, basically understanding that basically we should operate at a 10-10-80. 10% tithe, 10% savings, and live on 80%. I don't know, you know, and I have tried to operate on that. Like the tithing is not the issue. It's like, oh, I got to put that, and I was like, I got to live on this part right here. But you know, I have come to that. My second part of my question is that there are some people that may be watching that don't even know what you're talking about in terms of a money market. Okay. So, I mean, and I know that we have very well-rounded people on here, but we want to be able to serve all people. So there are people that don't even know, how do I even open up a money market account? Where do I go to do that? How do I go to do that?
Yeah,
So,
interesting.
good.
Very, very good point, Regina. Thank you. Thank you for redirecting me in the conversation, because you're right. You know, there are a lot of people out there for whom a money market account may be a foreign term, right? It may be just as well as speaking a foreign language to them. So let me just advise and share with you all in the audience what it is. A money market account is just simply an interest-bearing account that is liquid, right? You can, you know, generally you can liquidate your funds in a money market account and the funds be available to you same day, right? Unless there is some stipulation with your bank. If you have invested in some type of money market account that may give, a higher level of interest, they may have some different terms on it. But in general, a money market account is an interest-bearing account that is liquid, and typically they pay more than traditional savings accounts. So to find out more about a money market account, just about every bank out there or financial institution does offer them. Oftentimes, when the bankers or tellers notice that their customers have a certain amount of money sitting in a savings or checking account, they will try to interest you in a money market account, right? You can also ask your financial institution about a sweep account. So what a sweep account does is it basically just takes the money periodically from your savings account and moves it into a money market account so that you're getting a little bit more interest and it still remains liquid.
Oh, very good.
Yes, yes,
Thank you for that.
yes.
I used to work for a credit union doing marketing, and it was the first time I really focused on credit union rates. But I find a lot of credit unions have really good rates on accounts as well. So, that's another option to check out. Well, you said check all financial institutions, but sometimes we don't think of credit unions as much as we should, I think. So,
Yeah, the credit union rates are usually more favorable, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
What about like stocks, like investing in? So let me rephrase my question. Now they have a lot of little apps that you can kind of invest in stocks on your own. What do you think about that? Do you have an opinion one way or another about those apps and investing that way to get started?
Yeah. Well, I can't speak on them all in general, but what I will say is if you're out there and you're listening and you want to invest, right? What I would try to do is I would try to find one of the more widely recognized companies. I would try and find one of the more widely recognized companies, companies whose product and service you may be familiar with. If you don't, just ask someone you know. Ask someone you know who may be investing or may have experience. And if you think you have a family member or a friend who's doing some kind of investing, I would speak to them and just try and get a referral first, because there are a lot of legitimate sites out there, right? There are a lot of legitimate companies out there, whereas you can set up an account online and you can start investing and your money will be fine, right? But then also too, there are some companies out there that may not be legitimate. So I would say do your homework first, do your research, do your due diligence, and try and get a referral from someone you know who has had experience with a particular financial institution.
So I have another question. Well, I have a question for Kim Flowers. And I'm the basic type person. I'm like, I'm gonna get down to the like nobody understands anything. When you talk about real estate investing and investing with someone or using other people's resources when you don't know that you have, how would you go about that? How would that start? How does that process begin, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it happens very organically. So there are a group of us or friends who have expressed interest in investing in real estate and leveraging our money. And we just have an organic conversation about what we envision, what we'd like to purchase and what our budget says we can purchase. And we begin working with or identifying a real estate professional who can help us kind of shop based on our budget. And we begin asking questions about the market and different neighborhoods and appraise value for homes and properties in that neighborhood. And then we began shopping, working with our realtor again to shop for lenders, people who can help us with purchasing that property. So I think the key is making sure that you have a good relationship with the people that you are going to begin engaging in this business endeavor. They need to be trustworthy. from my experience, that's basically how it happens. It's very organic. It's not a corporate interest that is, I'm not working with corporate entities who are purchasing properties. These are people like us who want to invest in real estate. They have a friend with their conversation with their good girlfriends. We talk about our budget and payday and direct deposit and how much we have in savings. And we just start talking to real estate professionals. Some of us have ideas like, I've always wanted to buy a house in Canton in Baltimore City, or I've always wanted to live in Federal Hill. I mean, you just start having those types of conversations and then begin engaging the professionals who are competent and that you trust to help you make that a reality.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, we had another comment on Facebook, and the question was, would that be to flip it? And I think they're saying, would you and the group be flipping properties, or is this to keep a portfolio of properties?
Right.
It probably could be both, but
it could be both.
yeah.
So it depends on what you and your friends' objective is. Some people want to, what we call hold, buy properties and hold. And that's to generate income on a monthly basis. You're holding a property so that you can collect rent, essentially. And that rent can go to help achieve whatever your needs are, your dreams, to help build that 3 to 9 month nest egg that you need. Some people want to invest so that they can, I guess flippers, they don't like the term flip these days. They call them renovate or rehab homes. Because I guess it has a derogatory connotation, but some people like the whole kind of HGTV. We're going to go, make this shack a castle, and then we're going to figure out what the profit margin is, and we're going to get money from that and then invest it in something else. Or we're going to invest it in a home or in a property that we can then hold. So there's one of my colleagues, she has a whole model where they invest in some to hold, and then they use some of that money that they have generated from collecting rents to then renovate or flip. And that is a good model for them. That's been very lucrative for them. They've been able to basically pay for 2 sons to go to college that way.
Wow.
Yeah,
This is a hot topic. We have some more.
I have a question for you, Kim.
Okay, we have some more questions. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I have a question. What are some of the ways that you can leverage your property? Like, what are the different ways that you can leverage your asset?
Well, you can take the money out. You can get a home equity loan or a home equity line of credit to help pay for expenses. You can always sell your house. That's an asset you can sell once it appreciates. You can lease your home to generate income. Those are 3 ways that I can think of right now off the top of my head in which you can leverage this asset.
Interest rates are very low. So if you have a higher interest rate, you can lower your interest, refinance and get cash out if you want.
And lower your equity
and lower
your mortgage.
Right. Lower your mortgage.
What we're being told right now is I think many of you have heard and have already made reference to the fact that interest rates are extremely low right now. So what I am telling everyone based on the information I get from my trusted lending colleagues is that if you have an interest rate right now for a home that is higher than 4% or higher, you should definitely consider refinancing.
Yeah.
Interest rates are in the low 3s right now. A month ago, they were in the 2s. So all the guidance we're being given right now, though, is that interest rates will remain low, probably for the foreseeable future, definitely into next year.
Yeah.
And we will be shifting from a seller's market into a buyer's market.
Yeah.
So say it again.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so nationally right now, and I believe in what we're being told is, and when I say what we're being told, we have kind of our ear to the ground to economists that advise us in terms of residential real estate. But nationally, because of the pandemic and because interest rates are so low, we are in a national seller's market, which means there is high demand and very low inventory. Like very low inventory. People are not putting their homes on the market for various reasons, but primarily because our understanding is that people are minimizing their risk for contracting COVID-19. They don't want, if they're reselling their house and they're living in the house and they want to put it on the market, they don't want people kind of traipsing through their house, touching stuff, looking around, and increasing the likelihood that they could contract COVID-19. So that is driving prices up. So if you have a home that needs to be sold right now, you are in a fantastic position. You will get what you're asking for, and you will probably be a part of a bidding war, which drives prices up. If you are a buyer, it's still a great time because interest rates are so low. You will get a very, very affordable mortgage. It's just hard to find things. And you will be competing. You'll be competing. Everybody's competing for the same house.
Go ahead, Kari, because you said there was somebody that asked another question.
This is a hot topic. We have a lot of comments and questions. And one of the questions is, what's an appropriate age to get our kids to begin purchasing real estate and stocks in their own name? I buy stick gift cards, which somebody has to tell me what stick gift cards are for my girls and like it. So does anyone know what stick gift cards are? And Kim,
I'm Googling.
So to answer the question, an appropriate age to start purchasing stocks and real estate for your kids, I'd say even, I would purchase for my children before they're grown. I would purchase it before they're grown. You can utilize a UTMA account or a UGMA account, and that's Uniform Gifts to Minors or Uniform Trust to Minors. I would purchase the securities for them to help them understand investing, right? I would have my child go online. You can go on to Yahoo Finance or any of these free or public sites. And the one thing that I would do is whatever my child likes to wear. So, you have a lot of kids who like to wear Nikes or whatever their Adidas, whatever their company is, right? If they like to wear Under Armour, I would have them do some research on a particular company. If they like to eat at a particular restaurant, I would have them do some research. If they like to eat at McDonald's or Outback Steakhouse, wherever it is, do some research on the company, see if there is a holding company for that particular chain, and have them research it to see if, it is something that they want to buy. And if it's a shoe they wear, or if it's clothing that they wear, let them buy the stock and help them to understand, okay, you go into the store and when you pay money for this shirt or for these sneakers, you are purchasing, and it's not an asset because as soon as you purchase it, it starts to depreciate. But this is how you can also allow that company to benefit you because you've patronized them and you're benefiting their bottom line. This is how they can benefit you.
I like that.
You said that, what was the acronym you used? You said it's the uniform. UGMA, Uniform Gifts to Minors, Uniform Gift to Minor account. So it's basically, it's basically an account that can be set up by a parent for their child. Because
we got to put that in the chat.
So they're asking for you to put this information in the chat, Danica.
Sure.
Well, I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, can you put it in? Do they see this chat?
Yeah, we're on Facebook Live.
Oh.
If you could share this on your Facebook page, that would be great, Kim. We're on Facebook Live, and we're asking everyone who's watching, share this information. We want to get this out.
Uniform Gift to Minor account?
Yes.
Can the Uniform Gifts to Minors account, you can purchase anything with that account?
Just about. There are some limitations, but for the most part, you can purchase enough to get enough experience.
Okay, and a minor is up to what, 18?
21.
Up to 21. Okay, so they could purchase real estate with this account.
No.
Because I know you can, no. Okay, that's why I was asking.
Only securities. Is this for securities?
Yes, it's for securities.
Okay.
So now let me rephrase that answer, because you know, if you're talking about hard real estate, bricks and mortar, or,
Residential
you know, 'cause
real
you can
estate.
purchase real estate different ways. So you can purchase real estate through Kim, meaning you're purchasing the physical property, but real estate can also be purchased through securities, right? Through publicly traded securities, which are REITs, real estate investment trust, REIT.
Oh, okay.
So
So,
they trade on the exchanges.
okay, so is a REIT something that can be purchased with the Uniform Gifts to Minors account?
Yes.
Okay, that's good information. So as it pertains to what I do, residential real estate, you can be as young as 18 to purchase.
Woohoo!
Awesome.
That
Good.
is awesome.
Yeah.
So Kim, let me just ask you this, because I'm getting ready to have my daughter's going to college. She just finished her early action applications and submitted them. Praise God. So I am thinking about purchasing, so I'm thinking about property purchasing where she decides to go to school,
Yeah.
right? And before she turns 18, I purchase the property in my name, and then when she turns 18, I can turn it over to her, or, right? Can I do that, Kim?
Yeah,
That's how.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, she can then become an owner of that property at 18.
I have a story to share, and maybe you all can give me some insight or tell me what you think of this. But so I had a similar case where my parents turned property over to me when I was, I think 21. I might have been 21, 22. And they turned some of their property over to me. And what happened was, when I went to purchase my first home alone, I was not eligible for a lot of benefits because of that, because I was already considered a homeowner.
First-time home buyer. Yep.
First-time home buyer. So it's tricky with that. And I think you should know that. Like, my parents didn't realize that that was going to be the case. They thought they were doing something great, but and it still turned out great, but it was just a bigger challenge because of the situation. So just something to think about as you're transferring properties and passing down the legacy. Just think about the impact for your child as they're moving on in their life, if they can't leverage that property to purchase something. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That is a good point. Because in Maryland, to be a first-time home buyer, and really, there are a lot of jurisdictions that have programs specifically for first-time home buyers, but in the state of Maryland, the state benefit is that you get a credit, or you get waived a portion of the transfer tax. So, but if you have a good realtor, you can always have all that negotiated.
Good point.
So,
You have to have a realtor that you can trust.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
Kim Flowers.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Someone who's knowledgeable about all the different programs out there as well.
That's true. Yes. And I have a question for Danica.
Yes.
So you talked about the 6 to 9 month emergency fund, or I guess 3 to 9 months. The minimum would be 3, and 9 months you think would be sufficient. After the 9 months, and I'm going to call that's the plan A, right? In this kind of analogy. With plan B, what would be the most logical, maybe not the most logical, but what would be the recommended plan B for money that exceeds that 9 months? Because you talked about.
Excellent question. So I like to advise people to, in every way you can, protect yourself, right? Have different layers of protection and have barriers that insulate you from these type of COVID-19 types of situations, right? So what I would do, you have the traditional emergency fund, right? But when the emergency fund is exhausted, you got to do these things before you're actually in that circumstance, because what happens is if you haven't prepared and put it in place before the fact, once you're in it, it's going to be harder to get to that place. And the reason why is because what I'm going to say is, for a plan B, I would always, and I tell this to anybody, having real estate is valuable in so many ways, right? Because you can, as you mentioned, Kim, you can have a home equity line of credit, or what we call a HELOC. I always tell people, if you have any kind of equity in your home, get access to it.
Mhm.
How do you get access to it? A HELOC, a home equity line of credit, right? So what you do is you contact your financial institution. You can contact your mortgage company or any mortgage company out there that's in the business of lending money on real estate, and inform them that you want to qualify for a home equity line of credit. And then basically what they will do is they will give you a line of credit or a checkbook, which you can use to write checks against the equity that you have in the house. Now, I will also say that I would not use that checkbook to go shopping. I would not use that checkbook, to just for frivolous purposes. I would only use it for emergency situations. I would use it and just, I would have it and just keep it in my drawer and almost let it be one of those situations whereas I forget that it's even there. So go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Cara. I'm sorry.
I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm waiting. Go.
Okay, so we had another question, and it says, thoughts on high yield savings account. Is it better than a money market account?
Well, it depends on what the rate is. I would tell financial institutions, show me the money. What is the rate? That's what it's all about, right? High yield savings account, show me the money and tell me the terms. Am I committed?
Oh,
go ahead.
I have a question for you. So with the home equity loan, could you use that money, if you have the little checkbook, you get the approval for the line of credit, to put down money on another property? If you
absolutely.
I love it. That's awesome. I didn't know that. That is a blessing to hear.
Jeanette, you got a gold mine right there. That is how most people who get started in flipping real estate, that's how they do it, right? They usually start by purchasing their principal residence. And then over time, that principal residence will grow in value, right? The value will increase and it will accelerate. And then they start getting letters in the mail from some financial institutions that's offering them a home equity line of credit, right? So then they have this checkbook and they can use that checkbook to go out and purchase other property. So basically what people do is when they have equity in their home, they leverage that equity to then go and buy other properties.
Yep.
Yes.
So, go ahead, I'm listening. Keep going.
So, you have a lot of people who have done extremely well in real estate doing that. Now, it can also hurt you, right? It can also hurt you. So you have to be very careful. You got to be very strategic because it can also, work in the opposite direction. So the scenario I gave is one in which the real estate started appreciating in value. But what's going to happen if you own this real estate, you get a home equity line of credit, you go out and you purchase another property, you've now leveraged your principal residence, right? You go out and purchase another property, but what if the market turns against you?
Right.
And your principal residence that was at one point valued here, and you were given that home equity line of credit based upon this value. Well, now your principal residence is valued here, right? And the bank has to maintain what's called an LTV, a loan to value ratio. So they may start calling you if that property starts to decrease in value. And they might start saying, you got to pay down this home equity line of credit.
I have a question about home equity lines of credits and home and HELOCs.
Yes.
Are they being issued during this time with these rates? I feel like I read something recently where banks aren't really doing HELOCs and home equity loans in this environment, this low rate environment. Is that true? I don't know. I'm asking.
My experience is that they are still being done. They may not be done as actively as they were before the pandemic, but they are still being done. Okay. And to Danika's point about being careful about leveraging your principal residence, remember that when you're selling your home, you have to account for the fact that you have that HELOC. Right. So when you are, the market is going gangbusters and you want to sell your home, do not forget about that second line. I've had many a situation where
So lien on
people
your property.
are expecting to net a certain amount and they done forgot about that HELOC.
Right.
I had a woman who basically had to get out of her contract because she was
wasn't
under
gonna make any
contract
money.
because she was getting ready to be underwater. She was gonna have to bring money to the table to sell her own house.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is a lien on your property. That's a lien on your property, just like the
Yeah.
mortgage. So
Yeah.
That's right.
Which is why you have to get a good financial advisor too, right,
Absolutely.
Danica?
Absolutely.
Like you can't just be out here doing this stuff. And that's a very good point, because let me just say this. We talked about this last week in terms of self-care, and I think well, anyway, because a lot of people, especially in our African American community, they're like, oh, I don't need a financial advisor. Like, that's too much. I don't need to pay for one. It's too, I mean, there's like a stigma to it. Like, it's like they're going to take all my money. They're going to, there's just some stigma to that.
right. Yeah.
So, that what you're sharing, both of you, is just having someone else to talk it out with. Because while it's interesting, because I was talking to a girlfriend the other day, and her business is doing well and prospering, and they've gotten PPE money and all that, but she's upside down in her mortgage, straight up upside down in her mortgage, can't refinance, can't do anything, can't do a thing. And and so just having a financial advisor to help you through that process, I think is very, very important.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think those of us who are in the Black community and the Christian community, having a financial advisor supports this, what is biblical in terms of being a good steward of your finances.
Yeah.
Being responsible and making sure that you have due diligence toward all of the blessings that God has provided.
That's right. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. At some point, Danica, and we can do that later, but can you explain what the fees might be? I'm not saying your fees in general, but maybe people need to understand what those fees are so they aren't shying away from getting a financial advisor. And already we can already see what the value in it is, but just so that people are aware what they're really paying for. Because I think if you really understood what it was, you would quickly run and get a financial advisor if you really knew how a financial advisor was being compensated.
Yeah.
And so,
I think that, so a financial advisor is just important to us as our medical advisor or our physician, right? The same way we want to have good doctors, right? We should all want to have a good doctor. You should want to have a good financial advisor, or a financial advisor, period, right? Let's start there. You should want to have a financial advisor, because there are so many people that I've worked with just by having financial advice. And not only the financial advisor, but they're an accountant too, a good accountant, right? But just by having financial advice, they've been able to make some sophisticated money moves, I'll say, that has made them a lot of money and saved them a lot of money, right? So there is not a value you can put on getting good advice, whether it's from your financial advisor or from your accountant. Because having access, like Regina said, having access to that person that you can talk to, or just run things by, it can make you a whole lot of money and save you a whole lot of
pain.
Save you a lot of money too. Yeah.
Yes.
I agree about that. You're right about the accountant and the financial advisor. You need both of those.
Yes, you do.
For good money moves. I am in total agreement with that. We have another question, and this one is for Kim. Kim, do you think there may be another real estate bubble?
I do. A lot of people are saying that we are in the real estate bubble. I was not a realtor during the previous real estate bubble, So I don't really know what it feels like, but everyone who was in the previous real estate, I've been a realtor for 5.5 years. So everyone who was in the involved in real estate at that time say that everything looks, feels, and smells like we are in the bubble or approaching very quickly that bubble. I don't know, I feel like some of it is somewhat artificial in that we're in this pandemic.
Mhm.
So I don't know if we were not in the pandemic, would we be fast approaching a bubble? So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. I don't know how real this bubble is, or if it's just because we're in a pandemic. And then the question is, how long does this pandemic last, and how will the market respond for a pandemic in the long term? So
Dr. Fauci said 2022.
I have
That's what Dr. Fauci said.
a question for Danica with regards to investing in a pandemic. I think that folks are risk adverse, right? Especially during the pandemic, and just wanted to get your opinion on that. Like, is it, a good idea to continue investing when the markets are so unpredictable?
I have clients. I mean, there are literally some companies out there, right? Quite a few of them that are up significantly this year. Significantly. I mean, there are some that started the year at around in that $70 range and are now in that $500 range, right? When you think about that level of appreciation in less than a year, I wouldn't be afraid. So there's a famous person, Warren Buffett, who says, how does he say? Be fearful, be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy.
I love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, it's telling you to think about investing in the opposite manner that the human psyche would tell you to think about it, right? So when the economy is shaky, our mind wants us to feel like we shouldn't be investing, but that is when there's opportunity. But when the economy is steady and things are going good, everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon because it feels good and you feel like you want to get in, but it's probably too late. It's feeling good because the market's already done well, which means that if you get in, you're gonna be getting in up here when you should have got in down here when it wasn't feeling so good. And Cara, to go back to your question regarding real estate in a bubble. So here's what I'd like to add to that. Think about this. We're not hearing about it as much because it's not being publicized as much as it was in the beginning of this pandemic, right? So we had about 40 million people on unemployment, okay? We had about 40 million people, and it was record breaking. It was unprecedented. A lot of those people started getting unemployment and getting other types of assistance from the federal government. That assistance allowed them to receive unemployment benefits for X number of months. Then they could get an extension and get unemployment benefits for another X number of months, right? At the same time, the federal government was making provision for some people not to be able to be foreclosed on their mortgages. There are different types of forgivenesses that were made available. There are forbearances that were made available. And what this means is that if you fall behind on your mortgage, particularly if you have a mortgage that is government backed, right? Your financial institution cannot foreclose on you. Can't foreclose on you. Now, it's not forgiveness. So it will almost like put a pause on your mortgage paying obligation. It doesn't forgive the amount you owe. That's a forbearance, right? They're not going to basically say, okay, well, don't worry about paying it. We'll just wipe your slate clean. No, you're still going to owe that money. So there's going to come a point in time whereas all of those forgivenesses and all of that protection is going to be exhausted. So you're not seeing the market saturated right now, which is why it is a significant seller's market, right?
Right.
However, there's going to come a time when those things start running short, when the well starts running dry, and people are not getting help. The help is running out.
Mhm.
And
Right.
then I think it's going to get bad.
And that's what they're projecting to be the beginning of 2021.
Yeah.
And that's when it will be the buyer's market.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be unfortunate for the folks where that time comes due when the assistance runs out. It'll be an opportunity for buyers who have, put all their ducks in a row and can take advantage of these low interest rates that we are being told will be
Continue.
sustained through, foreseeable future.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something about the Warren Buffett thing in terms of not to be afraid. I mean, it's natural. It is human nature in these times to kind of feel you're kind of like in a scarcity mode, right? But I believe my understanding of Warren Buffett and how he became Warren Buffett was he went into, I think, the city of Detroit and started buying buying everything when it was like, the last time it was, when properties and whatnot were at their lowest in the city of Detroit, the last time they went through economic hardship.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically how he became, the beginning of how he became Warren Buffett. He just bought when things were the lowest, when people were in scarcity mode, jumping ship, and just took advantage of that. So, to Danika's point, if you can do it, I think now would be the time to actually begin investing when it's low. Because the market always comes back. They tell you to ride it out.
Right.
Right.
Right. If you can do it, ride it out, because it always returns.
Yeah. And see, that's why you have to have a professional, because, when it comes to your finances or purchasing real estate, you have to have somebody who's going to take the emotion out of the process,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And as individuals, we aren't always capable of doing that, right? Because
No.
we're spending with our heart,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we have to be partnered with a professional, a real estate agent, a financial advisor, and whoever it is. You have to have someone who is not going to have that same kind of connection to the deal, right? They got to be able to objectively make a business decision on your behalf without taking into consideration your emotion.
Oh, that's
Which is
really
hard.
good. So I have a question, Danica. If you were to, if you had a little overflow of finances, or extra, just some extra, you refinance your house or whatever, would you recommend you pay in this pandemic that we're in? Would you recommend you pay all your credit cards down to zero?
Absolutely not.
Okay, good.
No, absolutely not.
Because because some people are like, oh, I got to pay all my credit cards down to zero, and so that I don't have. Yeah. Okay.
No. Regina, cash is king.
Cash
Always
is
has
king.
been, always will be. You keep that cash right where you are, especially
Absolutely.
in this pandemic, because we got to get through this pandemic.
Right.
And we might be in this thing for another year and a half, 2 years. Who knows? Do not pay those credit card companies. You pay them the minimum required amount. Don't pay them all your money. Keep that money in your pocket, because the minute you go and pay off all those credit card bills and pay it down to zero, you know what they're just going to say to you? Thanks. But then you still have to, you got to be sustained. You got to sustain yourself throughout this wilderness period. This is a wilderness period, right?
This is a wilderness.
We got to stock up. So the same way people were running and stocking up on the toilet paper and the Lysol, you stock up on those coins. Keep those coins in your pocket. But we got to make sure we pump up the pandemic purse. We can't.
Oh, that's a good one, Danica. Pump up the pandemic purse.
Yes.
That is good. I like it.
That's good. That's good. Because I think some people, they're like, oh, but if I pay all my bills off, then I won't. Yeah, good. That's good.
So
advice.
I have another question. Do you recommend, Danica, the same way Kim talked about groups purchasing property together,
Mhm.
do you encourage or recommend like groups getting together? I might not be able to purchase, you know, let's say stock in Facebook or a substantial amount, but if I had a group together, we could pull our money together and buy a nice little chunk. Do you recommend that? Do you?
Uh,
Investment groups. I have an experience with that. I see why Danique is looking like that because I had a situation.
yeah, what I will say is, for some people, it has worked, right?
Yes.
But I'm going to guess that it's you know, a very few people. I
Yes.
would add this: if these are friends or family members, if these are people in your life that you want to continue to be in your life, do not be with them.
Don't do it.
As a financial advisor, I don't even get bothered. I'm not being bothered with that. I'm
Got it.
no, I recently I had a friend to ask me about it, right? And you know, oh, she thought it was just such a great idea, and it may have been, right?
Mhm.
But I felt bad when I had to tell her, no, I can't help you. No, it's just, well, think about it. You know, think about it. You're dealing with a whole lot of different personalities, right? Before you can even get to the investing part, you got to get through the personalities. And that is going to be the majority of what the relationship is going to be consisted of. The personalities and all the stuff, right? You're not even gonna be able to get down to business because somebody's gonna want to buy this, somebody not gonna like it. Somebody might like this restaurant, but somebody may have gone there and gotten some bad foods. I don't want to buy that one. No.
And then before that, though, you need to set up a governance document.
Oh, absolutely.
So the bylaws and all, I mean, that almost took my group out before we even started. That alone almost took us out. So I agree. I'm sure I do know of some long-standing investment groups. There's one like, I don't know, it's probably like 30 years old in Baltimore. My dad used to belong to it, called the something of Baltimore. It's all Black men. So that's like one that I know of that has stood the test of time. But for the most, you got, like Danica said, you got all these personalities, and then like, there's a question about who can we bring in? Can we expand it? And who would like, it's a whole mess.
It's not worth it.
Never was a fan of that.
Yeah, because I mean, you start getting into my cousin, that she and her friends have done something like that, and it was just disbanded before. By the time she asked me about it initially, and I told her no, to her going and doing it anyway, by the time I asked her about it again, it was over. Right?
You know, think about this. I'm just gonna throw. I hear what you all are saying, but other cultures come to this country. They collectively invest. Then they take the money and then they leverage it and they expand. I mean, I can't see why it wouldn't be a good idea to pool your money, invest in something, and then it's got to be a way to get it done.
It's a great idea. It's a really good idea.
The idea and the concept is amazing, right? Everybody would be rich if it was that easy. But I'm telling you, because you know, one of the things, like, even if you can get through just like formally organizing the group, right? You know, with all the business structures and the tax structures and all that, if you can get through that part, once you start investing, what's going to happen when somebody wants to take money out, or somebody falls on hard times and they need to get access to their money? Who's doing who's the accountant? Who's calculating, okay, based upon how much this person has invested and it earning this amount of interest over this period of time, this is how much they get to take out, right? Then somebody's not going to like it. It's just,
But it can be done. So Jeanette, it can be done. It's just, it's more than what people think about. I mean, it's beyond that good. I mean, because it is an awesome idea, which is why people, it's a great idea.
It's more trouble than it's worth.
I think so.
It really is. I mean, now
maybe we can explore other ways to pool our resources.
Yeah. Now, if you have a business partner, I'm not discouraging collaborating, right? But if you have a business partner and you all want to purchase some real estate,
right,
and you create some kind of business structure, an LLC or something, right? And you agree that you all are going to be 50-50 partners no matter what on everything. Every contribution that goes into the property, every capital investment that goes in, every distribution or gain that comes out, you're 50-50 down the line, no matter what.
Mhm.
If it's yourself and one person or two people, you know the people, right? They're, you know what I mean? You
Right.
really gotta know people to go into something like that, or you get into a business agreement or relationship with people that you just don't know. So then, if the relationship goes bad, well, then you haven't lost anything.
Mhm.
Well, it's so funny. I'm just sitting here laughing because I'm thinking about my brother and I, who are very, very close. We're very, very tight. But I can just see us clashing on an investment. I mean, going into something together. Like, I could just see, he'd be like, no, but I know. And I'll be like, but I know. And, I mean, just as simple as that in family, right? Like, neither one of us want to see the other one fail,
Mhm.
but we just have different personalities about how we do
Yeah.
things. So I can see
You have a lot of spouses who don't, household their money or invest their money or bank together.
Yeah.
And they love each other.
that.
It's just important for us to explore ways to create wealth.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah,
I think that is
absolutely.
important.
And back to your point, help each other. You were making a point of we can help each other.
Communities.
And that's what part of this whole girlfriends chat is about, is how can we support each other? So we'll just keep.
Jeanette mentioned an interesting concept when you said other people come to this country and they do that. Well, consider this. I just did a seminar a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about the black dollar, right? And this is staggering. So when you think about how long the black dollar stays in the black community in relation to other ethnicities,
Right.
right?
That's true.
So let me ask you this. How long do you think the black dollar stays in the black community as opposed to the Asian dollar staying in the Asian community?
I think it's
One day,
it's
one day
hours.
tops.
It's like 6 hours or something. It's not even.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a day.
Yeah.
I think
I
it's
heard the
a
study
couple
too,
hours.
and it was so short. I was just.
So let me ask this. How long, and this will be a good question for the audience. How long do you think the Asian dollar stays in the Asian community?
Ooh,
Years. I would say years.
Oh.
I'd
And
say
then
years.
the second part of the question is, how long do you think the black dollar stays in the black community?
hours.
And Jeanette,
One day.
this is going to
tops.
validate what you said, Jeanette, in so many ways.
I'm pretty sure that the Black community is hours, not even a full day. But I don't remember what the Asian community was. But I would guess it'd be at least close to a year.
So the Asian dollar, the black dollar stays in the black community for about 6 hours.
Yep, I thought it was 6. Yeah.
6 hours. You said it, Carl. You said 6 hours.
Mhm.
The Asian dollar stays in the Asian community for about 30 days.
Oh.
I was thinking 30 days. Yeah.
So what does that mean? What does that mean though? Like let's
30 days, you can, right. I mean, within 30 days, you can collectively, if you have money in the bank for at least 1 month, you can make some level of interest off of it in 1 month, right? And depending on how much money you have, you're netting something. But if our dollar doesn't stay a day, we're just losing money.
That's right.
We're giving away all our money.
So when you think about the fact that in the Asian communities, most Asian communities, right? When you drive through the community, the stores are owned by Asians, right?
Right.
When you go to the medical buildings, the physicians, they'll probably be Asian. Where you go to have your car washed, it'll probably be owned by the Asian who lives somewhere in the community, right? So what it means when they say the Asian dollar stays in the Asian community is that when they make the money, and oh my gosh, this is like so real to me because my husband is Asian. So when we go to his hometown in California, nice Asian community, but I noticed as we're driving through, all you see is Asian people, right? Likewise. So that dollar, when you make it or when they make it, it gets spent. They take their card, and as they drive down the street and go to the store, it's getting spent in the store that is owned by an Asian. So the dollar's staying in there, right? And so then that Asian who owns that store is then probably going to take that money and spend it at another Asian store. Or maybe there may be a local or regional bank or financial institution, right? Who knows? And the property that that financial institution may be residing in is probably owned by an Asian who lives or has lived or invested in that community.
Mm-hmm.
So that dollar is circulating around and around and around and around, and it's going to be about 30 days before it leaves. Now,
were there any studies that showed where the break was? Like what was the where was the money spent outside of the Asian community? Because what you just described was a situation where they are self-sufficient. So they don't have to go outside the community.
Right.
But at some point at the end of 30 days, they are spending their money. Do we know where they're going at the end of 30 days?
So, you know, I don't know. There probably is a study, right? There has to be for
I'm just curious.
To determine that it's 30 days, right? So I'm guessing that at some point, the money may get deposited into a bank that may not be an Asian.
Not the Asian, yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? So maybe they bank with Bank of America or one of the larger institutions, you know?
Yeah.
Now, when we think about it, in the Black community, when we get our money, and it gets deposited, right? Or we get our paycheck and we go and spend it.
We don't go to the Black bank.
No, we're not going to the Black bank.
bank.
So the time that it takes for us to earn the money and drive to the bank, as soon as we get that money deposited in that bank, it's not a local or regional Black bank.
Yep.
It's just not.
We don't go to the Black shop in the community. We don't buy the Black retail, the Black restaurant, the Black.
But that's a good point you just brought up that we should share with our audience. If we all just opened accounts in Black owned financial institutions, and at least, even if we don't put all of our money there, if we at least put some of our money there, they're able to provide loans so we can create businesses, because they can they loan based on their balances. So if we all put money in there, we can help our community to sustain and change that number from 6 hours to at least a couple days.
Yeah. How many of our communities or our neighborhoods have a Black-owned supermarket?
Right.
Very few. We're not self-sufficient in the way that the Asian community is.
Right. But I feel like
other communities.
I feel like we could start that even by, putting money into Black financial institutions, because then we can give the loans to Black business owners to know with COVID, what we saw when they had all this money for small businesses, our community was not getting any of that money.
No,
very
we were
little
not.
of that money. So
I think too, like it's a lack of access to information too. I mean, because just speaking to what you're saying, having friends that had small businesses, but because their tax stuff wasn't in order or other things, they couldn't take advantage of loans and benefits.
Right.
So I mean, like this show, this topic is so important. There's so much that we don't know. Like, using your, the equity in your house to purchase another property. And then, knowing that maybe sell it before the, before the market changes and buy something else. There are money moves that we should be.
Money moves.
Money
And
moves.
we don't know. We don't have
We
don't have the information. People do it all the time that make probably a lot less than we do. But are more prosperous because they understand how money works.
Right.
And that's
why they make the money work for them. Yeah.
Make it work. But when you don't have the information, then you're just going based on what you saw done with how your parents maneuvered or how so that's why I'm asking all these questions. It's so
no, that's good. Because this is where it starts. It starts with a good girlfriend.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Danica, let me ask you. I want to ask Danica a question about, so to Jeanette's point about different communities who come to the US and they pool their resources. There is now all this hype around susus. What is
Woo!
your
Lord? I don't even.
I mean, it's essentially pooling your money. And
It
I mean,
is.
what are your thoughts about that? Because it is basically a long-standing practice that happens in many communities outside of the US. And it has been beneficial. It has been an investment tool for many communities.
And what is it
What do
again?
you
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, susus. Are you
The
familiar with
flower,
susus?
the flower,
Yeah,
the flower, the
Oh, Danica's
put
like, I don't know what
$100
this.
in.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
It's
It,
because I'm securities licensed.
right. She doesn't. Yeah.
There's
yeah, you wouldn't know nothing about that. That's probably good, Danica.
Yeah.
Yeah. She probably stays away from that because
That's probably good.
it's all kinds of not secure. There's nothing secure about it.
Yeah.
Except that there are people that make money. I mean, there are people that have made money.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've been asked 10 times. I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So real quick, I just want to mention, and someone brought this up, just back to if we supported Black-owned financial institutions. And we know now that we have viewers all over the country. So if you are out there and you know some in your state, share them in the chat. But just, I know in Baltimore, I believe Harbor Bank is still Black-owned, or at least minority-owned, Black-owned. And someone on our chat also suggested Industrial Bank in DC.
Yeah,
So
Industrial Bank in DC.
upon ourselves to list out some Black-owned financial institutions and really try to, that's something that we can do, something small that we can all do. Even if you open your money market there or whatever, just as long as we're putting deposits into their bank, we fortify them, first of all, to keep them, because it's going to be more difficult as time goes on for them to sustain themselves as well, but also so that we can keep the money in our own community, number one, with them, but also support them in helping to build businesses within our community. So
absolutely.
So everybody add in whatever banks you research or you know of that are Black owned, and let's start there.
Cara, that's an excellent point, because when you think about it, if we want to try and extend the amount of time that the Black dollar stays in the Black community, well, the first stop is the financial institution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if we can get that dollar into a Black bank or a Black financial institution, it's going to sit there for a little bit.
Right.
And then when it does go on loan, because most of their customers are Black, it's going to be going out the door to somebody. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's going to stay in the Black community.
It stays in the community. So
I will give you, and I will say to you that is so true. So when I first purchased my home, the home I'm living in now, 23 years ago, it was a Black bank that gave us the mortgage, right?
What?
So I will say Berean Bank, they're no longer in existence, but I can say for certain that at that time, we probably wouldn't have gotten approved for the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a brother an older gentleman, I can't think of his name now, but we are still, my ex-husband and I are still very grateful to him, said to us, we looked at what your potential, right?
Wow.
Your potential earnings, right? And so, and we were given the mortgage, which there's nothing like that, having that kind of support, like from your community, right? And so this is what Black banks could do for what they did for me, right? We could be doing that for other people, other young couples that are coming up, that, it's important.
That is a great story.
That's exactly what other communities do.
That's a great story.
Back to your point, Jeanette, about other communities. That's exactly what they do. That's what Jewish community does. That's what the Asian community does. That's what other people do. They support their own. They don't look at what their debt is necessarily. They look at the potential. And so, but we have to get to the point where we are pumping our money into the bank so that they have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
That and understanding again, and I have a lot to learn about how money works and making it work for me, but this needs to be like a regular thing. I think there was some talk about Danica having her own show.
No. Don't talk about that. Yeah, we'll preview that later.
Oh yes, but we need to have a better understanding of how to make this money work for us in our community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's a major thing right there, that we as African Americans, I believe, that we have not taught our children early enough how to make money work for them. I always say that I feel blessed that my parents did share some things with me. I don't know everything, but they did share some things with me that helped me to, be
Yeah.
the position that I am, at least at this point. I say it all the time. I'm no secret. I've never made as much money as I've been able to leverage. So to me, that's how you use your money. I've leveraged more than I've ever made.
That's right.
And I think that's a benefit from what I've learned from my parents. And so I'm thankful for that. And I took it for granted that some people, that everyone's parents taught them that, until I met some of my closest friends who I would share things with. And they're like, thank you for telling me that. And so that was that's important. We start we start with our children and teach them young. Have them sitting there with you while you're writing your bills and explaining to them how to use your finances, or
Right.
start them at a young age. And I still don't know what a stick account is, but get them, get them.
Yeah.
What are they that you talked about, these accounts, these securities at a young age? This is something that all, other groups, other communities are doing this. And even if you start with a checking account or a savings account for a child, and have them understand, like you said, Regina, about tithing, and then putting the 10% in at a young age, that becomes something that they are that will stay with them as an adult. These are important things that we have to start instilling in our children, so that they can be in a better financial position when they become adults.
Absolutely. And that is so true, Cara, because I think you and Jeanette just basically said the same thing. To summarize it, knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Just having that knowledge and that education, it transitions your mind, right? It shapes the way you think about things. And that then becomes how you live your life. So, it is so profound that when we are knowledgeable and when we're educated about something, we're empowered to live better, to do better, and to teach better.
Yeah.
And to other children.
And we have to share the information. I have a really good girlfriend who, back when this was when I bought my first home, she was on top of things. Like, I didn't spend as much time focusing on rates and stuff, but she was a rate shopper. She was like, okay, we all bought our first homes around the same time. She's like, okay, it's time to refinance. She'd come back the next week and be like, okay, we need to get HELOCs, and we're going to get them at this credit union. They've got the best rate. And I was like, okay, so she was really always helpful at sharing the information. And I tried to share it with my girlfriends. And to this day, I don't think my best friend in Detroit is watching, but she tells me all the time, I am so glad I just listened to you. The reason I have my business today is because you told me to get a HELOC. And I was like, what's a HELOC? And you were like, just get it. Don't worry about it. Just get it now. The rates are good. She's like, and because of that, I have my business today. And she said, so she's like, I'm just thankful I listened to you and you shared that information. So we have to share information as we go from reliable sources, of course, and do your own research too. I recommend doing your own research. I researched after she shares the information with me, but at least share that information out there with your girlfriends so that we can empower us.
It's incumbent upon us.
That's the kind of club I like, Cara, where girlfriends get together and share and keep your money separate. We can all,
information.
Want to share investment ideas, but everybody open their own account. Exactly. People can bring different expertise.
I love that.
I like that though. I think that's great too.
That's probably even better.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You don't.
So it's incumbent upon us that do know, that do acquire the knowledge to share. That old adage of each one teach one is real.
And we don't have to pool our money to do it.
Exactly.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Because then, Regina, your brother can stay your brother, right?
I don't have to divorce him as my brother. Like,
and
all right, you go do what you want to do.
That's right. So we can share and help each other, but just do it in a certain way so that the relationships stay intact.
Yes.
People are funny about their money now.
That's
People are
true.
funny about their money.
Yeah. So yeah, well,
Very helpful.
this has been
Very
so
good.
awesome. So ladies, we usually try to stop around 9:30 and it's getting close to that time. So at this point, we like to give you all an opportunity to share your contact information, share about your businesses and you know, let the folks out there know how they can reach you and what you offer.
Oh, that's so
Nika,
nice.
you want to start? Or Kim, you
Sure.
wanna start?
So once again, I am Danica Tokunaga. My company is Maven, M-A-V-E-N, Maven Wealth Management. And you can Google me, you can find me there. My email address is firstname.lastname@lpl.com. So feel free to
I know
get in
LPL. I
contact
think I have
with
an
me. Yeah,
account at LPL.
go
And
ahead, see
So you're a financial advisor, right? You're a
Yeah.
financial advisor?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm financial advisor, a certified financial planner, and a chartered retirement planning counselor.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you sharing that in the chat or you wanted me to?
Will you please, Regina?
Okay, you got it,
I'm
Regina?
not technologically savvy. Please.
I'm gonna put Maven Wealth Management.
Yes.
That's really how they can find you.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I
And
learned so much from you tonight, Danica. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kimberly. And I learned a lot from you as well. Thank you so much. And I hope you just go out there and make people a whole lot of money in real estate because there is a lot to be made.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I am Kim Flowers. I'm with the Flowers Home Team. And I'm with the Flowers Home Team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm licensed to sell residential as well as commercial real estate, but my passion is residential real estate. I love helping families, first-time homeowners to luxury and anywhere in between. I am licensed to sell real estate in Maryland and Washington, D.C. And I can be reached via email or text or phone. My email is Kim A. Flowers, K-I-M-A as in apple and flowers like roses @kw.com. And I can be reached via phone and text at 410-818-9391. And I love to be just a resource, even if you're not in the market right now to buy or sell. I love being a resource. All things real estate. Call me, ask me about anything about, I don't know, vendors for, I don't know, replacement windows or deck improvements or, I don't know, sump pumps. I love being a resource. Or if you need a valuation for how much your home may be worth, I'm happy to provide that to you free of charge as well.
Nice.
Yes, that's awesome.
I'm sure a lot of people will be, interested in getting those valuations, especially with this spike in real estate.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you, ladies. Okay, so I just want, because we're live and hopefully you'll just say yes, I hope that you all will come back for a second segment.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, she just put
Yes.
y'all on the spot.
Yes, you did.
I'm thinking quarterly, or we won't bore you too much, but and definitely, honestly, I would love to do this again after the election. Like we need to, because we're gonna have, this is gonna be interesting. Well, whoever wins at this point, we all are going to need to figure out some money moves. Yeah. So if you all would commit to coming back again, that would be awesome.
I'll be back.
Okay. Absolutely, my pleasure.
This was very
I love the
good
girlfriends chat.
Yeah, we love it. So thank you, ladies, and thank you all for who came on live with us tonight.
Yes.
Please share this with your girlfriends. A lot of so much information. Oh my goodness. Please share it out. We just want to be a blessing to everyone out there. That's the whole goal of this. We always say if we can just bless somebody, then that's all we're trying to do.
So, don't forget your 30-day wellness, self-care plan, whatever it is, 30 days, commit to yourself for 30 days, whatever you decide to do.
Beginning tomorrow?
Starting November 1st. We said we were going to start November
1st. We can start on the 1st.
Yeah,
November 1st. Okay, Sunday.
November 1st gives you time to think about what you're going to do and commit to it. So start November 1st, and we'll come back December 1st, around then, to talk
Don't
about.
forget fall
So
back.
can I just leave
Oh,
one?
fallback.
Can I just leave us with one? This is October 29th.
Yes. Vote.
Vote.
I got my vote necklace.
Do
on
not
tonight.
look. Do not pay attention to polls. Do not think it's a done deal.
That's
It is
right.
never a done deal until the fat lady sings. Let me just say that.
I'm wearing my vote necklace tonight.
Yeah.
And also, let's make a point that if you have a mail-in ballot and you have not mailed, if you haven't done anything with it, do not mail it in.
Do not put it in the post office.
Knock it off.
Take it to a ballot box at this point. They've already said that you need to take it to a ballot.
Pennsylvania,
Drop off box.
the Supreme Court is already acting funky already today with Pennsylvania.
We need every vote to count. So don't take any chances and make sure you get out there. Polls tell us nothing.
And next week we will be having a discussion
Next week should be
in celebration.
In celebration.
In celebration. I'm decreeing and declaring it is so.
Yes.
Good Lord.
Amen.
Join us next week. Should be lively.
It will be.
See you all.
Guys, see you next week, everybody.